Have you ever tried making AI guess your drawings? Well, I was testing GPT-4o's Vision API and ended up making this simple drawing game, kind of like Pictionary with AI. You draw and AI makes a guess. Simple, and in a few minutes, you'll see what happens when I draw some things to try and confuse the model. Okay, let's build this step by step. First, our imports and setup. Let's kick this off with the terminal and create a new directory, then a couple of files. And I'm going to start by setting up the directory. So I'm going to do next, I'm going to create app.py, requirements.txt, and .env. Now, inside of your requirements.txt file, we need to add the following packages. So let's do flask, flask cores, OpenAI, and python.env. Next, in your .env file, you'll need to add your OpenAI API key as follows. Now you can obviously add in your OpenAI API key inside of your app, but it's always better practice to add it within your environment variable. Okay, going back to the terminal, let's create the following files: index.html, script.js, and style.css. And again, I'm going to get to those in a few minutes. Next, we're going to set up venv. So I'll do python -m venv, and then we'll do pip install -r requirements.txt. And that's going to install all of the packages that we previously added to the file. Okay, all done. Open your code editor and let's set up Flask super quick. Okay, this is basic Flask setup. We need cores for our web requests to work. I'm going to set up OpenAI real quick. So I'll do client OpenAI API key. And now the main part. We're just going to create one endpoint and it's going to be called submit drawing. And here's what it's going to look like. So we're going to say submit drawing post. Then we'll handle pre-flight request for cores. And next we'll get the data from the request. And we'll check if the data is provided. Otherwise, we'll just throw an error. Then we'll extract the base64 string and image type. This will let us do some validation to see if the data provided is in the correct format before we process further. So we're going to do that. Okay, now I'm just going to add our prompt that we're going to be sending alongside the base64 string to the model. And this prompt is going to be prompt, analyze this image and guess what it is in a single word. Next, we're going to use the create method from chat completions. And we're going to pass in the model. Here, I'm going to use GPT-4o 2024-0806, and that's the latest model for GPT-4o. You can substitute this with GPT-4o mini, but in this case, I'm using this one because it's the cheapest one. And next, we're going to pass in the messages, and that's going to contain two main values. The first one is the prompt, so let's do that. We're going to say role user and content, it's going to be type text. Then we'll pass in the prompt and we're going to pass the image base64 string that we have. So the way we do that is we define this type and we pass in image URL. And since we split the type and the string, we can just pass them like this, but you can obviously use the image data variable that was passed initially before we did the split. But anyway, since I have them, I'm just going to do that. And that's it. Finally, I'm just going to store the response from the large language model in this guess variable. So I'm going to do guess equals response choices message content. Okay, finally, I'll return the response as JSON. And that's it. See how simple this is? We get the drawing as base64, do a few checks on it, and then we just send it to the model. The last thing we do is send that back within our API endpoint so that we update the front end with the response that we got from GPT. And quick note on model pricing, I'm using GPT-4o because it's actually cheaper for Vision than GPT-4o Mini, even though Mini is cheaper for everything else. Anyways, you have to check the pricing for yourself since costs may change anytime. So I'm going to leave a link in the description. Okay, let's test it out. In the terminal, let's run our Flask API by doing python app.py. Then I'm going to load our front end by opening the index.html file. And I'm going to draw something simple like a circle or a square. I'm just going to go with a circle. It's perfect for my drawing skills. Okay, that was easy, right? Now let's draw a car. Okay, it guessed it, even though it looks like anything except a car. Whatever. Okay, now let's try to trick the model, and the only way to do that, because I did spend a lot of time on this, and yeah, it's really hard to trick it, especially with my drawing skills, but you know, it's just going to have a hard time trying to extract intent from abstract ideas. So for example, if I do a line that looks like an arrow and my intent here is to say, you know, growth. So let's try that. I'm just going to do a line going upwards. And yeah, this is growth. I mean, I would think it is. And as you can see, it doesn't recognize it as growth every time. Sometimes it does. It just, I'm not sure what's the difference. Like maybe it's the curve or the arrow at the top. I'm not sure. But anyway, it doesn't have 100% answer to that. And maybe that's the right thing, right? Because this is just such an abstract idea to kind of figure out the intent from it. But anyway, try it yourself, see what you can draw, maybe things like chaos with some random lines or speed with a few motion strokes, and see if you're able to kind of trick the model or, you know, just play around with this. It's fun. It's easy to set up. And the goal here, obviously, it's not to waste your time with like silly drawings and trying to trick the model, but it's just to show you how easy it is to implement this within your application. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. And I just want to add that you can grab the source code of the front end, so the index.html, script.js, and style.css files on my blog. That way you can see how to generate a base 64 string from the canvas element and send it over as an HTTP post request to the backend. So make sure to check out the blog. The link is in the description. I hope you found this useful, and let me know if you want more tutorials that are vision related. I do plan on doing a couple more. There are some very nice ideas that I have, but I'd love to know what you think. So yeah, let me know. And do check out my other videos because there are some other interesting topics that I cover. And thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.